Good evening, folks. We are back with the Arca Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Starton Parker, aka Colby Evans. It's good to be back. We've had almost a month break. We've been doing some backmarker battles reviews, but I'm happy. Not only do we have one Arca race, we've got two Arca races. Arca is back in full motion this weekend, and I'm extremely happy to go over these races with you guys, and we'll have a fun preview show. And again, I appreciate all the support, and we'll get into this little intro, and we'll get right into the Arca action. So, of course, follow me on Twitter at Starton Parker. Follow my good friends Arca Racing on Twitter at _racing. The man himself, Brad Smith, who is entered this weekend. We'll go over him too in a little bit. The Lascar historian legend himself, Brock Beard, at Lascar Brock on Twitter. And the NASCAR legend himself, Nascarman on Twitter. All the links are down in the description below. Go follow them. Those are my good friends online. They've helped me get to where I am, so I would appreciate if you guys could go down in the description and go follow them on social media and give them some love too. But anyways, let's get right into the show. Arca is back, and I am so happy because, don't get me wrong, I love doing the backmarker battles reviews with you guys. It's a lot of fun, but this is the Arca Racing Podcast. This is the main thing for the channel, and I'm just happy to be back. Not only do we have one race, but we have two races. We have the Arca Main Series at Talladega. We got the Arca West Series at Kern County. So we'll start off with the Arca West one first because I want to save Talladega for the main event. That makes sense to you guys. Sorry, I was dealing with a little bit of a sickness bug because it's spring season. So I apologize if I cough or sneeze during the show. But anyway, Arca West is back. I reviewed the Irwindale race. If you want to go check that out, it's in my video links. Irwindale had a small car count. Was not really happy to see that. We only had about 16 on the initial entry list. And unfortunately, that would dip later to 15 with the withdrawn another car. And mixed with Starton Parks, we only had about 13 or 14 cars running the full race. And it really provided, some entertaining battles throughout the race. But overall, in my opinion, was kind of a dull race. And I think that just hurt due to a small car count, even though Irwindale itself is a very entertaining track. But luckily, the car counts are up again. Keep in mind the last time we were in Kern County, we were not there, I believe, in 2021, but we were there during the 2020 pandemic race. I believe Taylor Gray actually won that race. He is not entered in this race. However, the 17 is entered under a different team. We have 20 cars for this weekend's race, which will include a couple of Starton Parks. The 31 of Paul Pedroncelli will likely start in Park. He did start in Park Phoenix. Andrew Tuttle did start in Park Phoenix, but I'm not sure if Andrew Tuttle in the 39 will actually start in Park this race as well. He could very well easily run the whole distance. Some other important entries. We do have a lot of new drivers in the field. We kind of have the same drivers there. Kyle Keller, despite Kyle Keller announcing that they were supposed to go full-time in the 12 car. In the 12 car, forgot the team name. Let's see if let's look it up real quick. Steve Bohannon, probably botched that name, but they were supposed to go full-time with Kyle Keller. They ran Phoenix, I believe, under this number 70 because the 12 had been already taken. And they withdrawn from Irwindale, which was interesting because they were a championship contender and they did have sufficient full-time sponsorship. They are back on the entry list this weekend, but it'll be interesting to see again if they actually end up withdrawing from the race. I am curious to see how this does go for that team because, sometimes we've seen, especially in the lower ranks, we have seen issues with sponsorships and some teams maybe not fulfilling promises that they made in the offseason. We've seen that in racing for years. Been very predominant in the lower series, and it's not talked about enough. People forget sponsor issues, sponsor scams, team scams. That happens a lot more in the lower divisions. It's just not talked about enough. So I hope we're not in that situation because we need more full-time cars in the West Circuit. It was great last season. We're off to a slow start this season, but I'm excited to see where the West Series is definitely going to be going. Some other notable entries. Todd Souza will be making a monumental start this weekend. He's been around the sport for a long, long time. I believe they say it was 400. I'm not sure if that was what it was. I believe it was 400 starts for Todd Souza. If I'm wrong on that, just correct me. By the way, it's a big milestone weekend for Todd Souza. He's made just quite a few starts. He's only got that one win. Todd Souza only has a couple wins, if not one win in his career. And his last one, I believe, came over 12 years ago. I'm very happy for him. He doesn't have the necessarily winning equipment, but he does have equipment that can easily run up there with the best. Austin Herzog, who got off to a little bit of a slow start at Phoenix, capped it off with a better finish at Irwindale, but overall didn't actually run to the standards that I'm hoping he would run, because remember, that is a 2-time championship car that he is stepping into, which was formerly won championships by Jesse Love. As of course, 17, as I mentioned earlier, is entered, but it's under the PPM Motorsports team. Is that the name? That David Mayhew. You guys remember the 17 orange car that David Mayhew, or the 17 or 19 that David Mayhew used to run many, many years ago in the West Series. Well, that's the same team. Or is it MMI Motorsports? I don't remember the team name. I'm not good with the West team name, so I'm sorry if I botch one or two. But, yeah, Amber Slagle will be back. She ran a couple of races last season. Didn't overall have the best results, but also had a lot of bad luck to go along with that to, not give her those kind of results that we're kind of expecting out of her. And I hope that she can give a good result this weekend. Other notables in the field, Paul Pedroncelli, like I said, he'll be the start in Park. PJ Pedroncelli, hopefully they can have a better run than Irwindale. Andrew Tuttle might be starting Parkin. Landon Lewis, who won the dirt race back at, I believe it was DuQuoin last year, in that just cluster of a race, if you guys remember watching that one. Landon Lewis will be driving the 42 for Bruce Cook Racing. Pretty interesting entry, because I figured Landon would only stick to dirt racing, but it's good to see that he's given short track oval racing a try. And Bruce Cook Racing has had a really rough start this season with Christian Rose, with just a lot of bad luck. Not all of it's been Christian's fault. They just had a lot of bad luck to go along with that. Trevor Hudson, like I said, this is kind of the remnants of the High Point Racing team that Dean Thompson ran last season. This is under the Huddleston family team, but ironically enough, despite Huddleston not being ran with Bob Brancati and Sunrise Ford Racing again, the equipment itself is actually from the Sunrise Ford Racing team. It's kind of weird how that works out sometimes. Joey East is once again with the 54. Eric Reed, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. He was on the entry list for Phoenix, unfortunately crashed and had to withdraw his entry, but looks like they've gotten the car fixed and will be looked to make his first start this weekend at not Irwin. I was going to say Irwindale, but it's actually Kern County. Trip Gaylord, which I actually have been told is the son of Scott Gaylord. You guys remember Scott Gaylord? He ran in the Xfinity Series for Jimmy Means Racing back in, I think, the late 2000s, preferably like 2008, 2009. But yeah, he's actually the son, from what I've heard, of Scott Gaylord. So that's kind of cool. So cheer on the number 77 of Trip Gaylord. The 86 TBA, which is owned by Tim Spurgeon, is currently listed without a driver. It's unclear whether that car will actually run. Or will it be withdrawn. I hope it does run, but we have seen before where cars are withdrawn. It's just the nature of the beast. If you hear my dog, I'm sorry, guys. If you hear my dog barking, my family's playing with her upstairs, so apologize if you hear my dog barking. The 88, of course, of Bridget Burgess. Speaking of Bridget Burgess, by the way, guys, I highly recommend you guys check out an article. Sorry, I got parched there. I highly recommend that you guys check out an article that was posted to arcaracing.com. It's a lovely story about the Burgess Racing family and how they really don't have a lot of money, and they really had to work hard to get where they're at, and hoping that Sarah and her daughter Bridget can actually race together. That was supposed to happen at Irwindale, but unfortunately Sarah's car had to be withdrawn, which was kind of sad, because it'd be really cool to see a mother-daughter combination racing in Arca. I don't think we've ever seen that before, and I don't think that's ever been done in NASCAR. So that'd be pretty cool. Highly recommend that you guys go check out that article. It's an amazing read. It's on arcaracing.com. It's on the homepage. If you can't find it on the homepage, just go to the news section. Really, really good read. Then, of course, we got the 99 of Cole Moore, and that makes up our 20-car field. Like I said, I believe The 31 will be a start and park like usual. Not sure if the 86 is going to show up. So we're looking at about 18 full race cars. So far, and they're leading both the points. Jake Drew and Tanner Reff have really dominated this season with how they're running. I believe Jake Drew was the highest finishing car at Phoenix. And, of course, Tanner Reff got his very first career win at Irwindale. So Sunrise Ford Racing is really kicking some ass this year so far in the West Division. They're going to be the top guns to beat. And I would say, really, judging by this entry list this weekend, they are going to be the top guns to beat. My pick. We got 4 people watching, so if you guys want to give your picks, I don't know who to pick, honestly. Normally you would want to go with Bill McNally Racing, but I'm going to say that they might struggle for a little while they're switching to Chevrolets, because as we know, Bill McNally is no longer running Toyotas, they're running Chevrolets, and it might take them some time to get used to a new manufacturer. I mean, they have run Chevrolets in the past, it's just been a while. But I would definitely say that my pick is going to come out of the Sunrise Ford team. But I couldn't tell you which one it's going to be. It could even be Huddleston running an ex-Sunrise Ford car. It could either be one of those 3. That'd probably be one of my guesses. I can't make a decisive pick. Some other dogs to watch, though, I would definitely say would be PJ. PJ had some damage issues at Irwindale that affected his good run. Definitely, hopefully, expect PJ to be up there running in the top 5. Notable absence from Irwindale. I got an update from his team, if I hadn't already mentioned it. Bobby Hillis, he's not done. Unfortunately, just kind of funding issues. We've seen what's happened with the world. It's not perfect right now. And I don't know if that's the reason why, but obviously we know, the prices have gone up. We know that. And, for these little teams like Bobby, sometimes that can be in the nail in the coffin, whether if you want to try to go the whole season or you have to scale back down to a part-time schedule. That may be one of the reasons why. And if that is the reason why, it's sad to see. But at the end of the day, it's understandable. A guy like Bobby and a guy like, and these payouts, with what we're seeing going on right now, the payouts just are not helping these little teams when, that little $1,000 goes so long for some of these teams. In case you guys are wondering, I got the payout list up right here. Winner's purse is set at $5,000, but the prize money total for top 3, if all the contingency panels is present, first place is $12,400, second place is $5,300, and third place is $3,950. Now, ironically, there is only 20 cars entered. Flow Racing TV bonus gives an extra $200 to first through 20th. So every car in the field this weekend will get an extra $200. So that does technically mean that although 20th place only pays $1,000, it will actually pay $1,200. So, in reality, it's not good, but it's also not terrible. If you guys can understand that, it's not bad. And that goes the same for all 3 series, in case you guys are wondering. Flow Racing does that for all 3 series. They're doing the same thing for Talladega when we go over the Talladega purse as well. So yeah, that's kind of the Arca West race. I am looking forward to it. Like I said, Arca West always seems to put on a good show. As for the point standings, like I said, I believe it's Jake Drew who's leading the point standings right now, just above his teammate Tanner Reff. We'll pull up the point standings for you guys. Bear with me for just one quick second, because I want to tell you guys the official point standings. So yeah, Jake Drew is leading by just 2 points over his teammate Tanner Reff. Cole Moore is in third, just 4 points behind. Austin Herzog is in fourth, 8 points behind. And Todd Souza, who's making the big start this weekend, is 12 points behind in fifth. So far, we've had, looks like it's 13 guys, 12 guys and 1 gal who have run the whole season so far. So as for that top 15 bonus, as we've been talking about with the back marker battles, right now, looks like everybody who runs full-time will pretty much be able to get that bonus. But like I said, guys, definitely put your picks in the comments if you guys want to, or post your picks on social media. If you guys don't have Flow Racing, just check out my timeline. You guys can, I'll have all the updates I can get for you guys. But if you do have Flow Racing, I strongly get it. I know it's a little pricey, but you don't realize just how many races are on Flow Racing until you actually get it. So if you have the opportunity to get it, if you don't, I understand, because not everyone has that kind of money to throw around. Even I don't. The reason why I did get Flow Racing is for you guys, so I can do this podcast. That's why I got Flow Racing for you guys. So I'm doing this for you because I love you guys, because you guys make my Wednesdays a lot of fun. So anyway, that's kind of the West race. Like I said, my pick is Ford. My pick is from the Sunrise team. I can't give a decisive pick because all three cars are so evenly matched. The two cars from Sunrise, the one ex-Sunrise car of Trevor Hudson, they're so evenly matched. My pick is coming out of those three. And if I'm wrong, come next Wednesday when we review this race, then I'm wrong. But right now, those are my picks. Like I said, definitely a lot of it is Saturday. Looks like it's going to be Saturday. I don't know what time it is. I'm going to try to look down here on the schedule. Looks like it'll be around 8:15. So I'm not sure what time that is Flow Racing wise, but either way, I'll definitely give you guys more updates as that race gets closer. So anyway, let's get on to the big kahuna of the races this weekend. Arca Main Series racing at Talladega. I know that's kind of the main one that you guys are here for. I wanted to get Arca West out of the way, but I know you guys are here for the big kahuna, Talladega Super Speedway, the second biggest Arca race of the season, literally. Big race for everyone. We have an amazing field of cars, and I'm so happy to say that. As you guys know, we have been struggling for car counts at Talladega, and it got really, really bad during the pandemic years. And, I think we can all agree that 2019 and 2020 were two, with all due respect, I love this series, man, I do. But 2019 and 2020 were two of the worst Arca Talladega races I have personally ever seen. Seeing 26 cars in 2019 and just 21 cars in 2020, man, that was just sad. That's all it was. It was just sad. And I was really worried, I was really worried that we were going to lose Talladega off the schedule. We've had this Talladega Arca race on for a long, long time. And I didn't want to lose any of our races. And I was worried, if we have these low car counts, Arca is going to have no choice. They're going to have to take it up the schedule because you can't have a race that small at a track that big. It just makes no sense. But thankfully, last year with Brad Smith. We got 29 for that race. And by God, they came out in full forces this year, 34 cars. And the best part, no starting parks. All 34 cars are attempting the full race. And to me, that is just so heartwarming to see. 34 full race cars attempting the full race at Talladega. I'm just beyond happy to see something like that, because in this day and age, you really don't see that kind of fields at Talladega. They only start 36 to begin with, so kind of got lucky that we're only having 34, because the last thing I want to see is anybody go home. Some notable entries in the field. Obviously, you got your full-time guys. At the start of the entry list, the Zero of Con Nicolopoulos. He will not be running. My friend Spencer Gogol announced he will not be running. And AJ Moyer, who had been driving for Peterson in the past, will be driving the Zero entry for that race. I believe that will be the Bill Davis Ford, and Zachary Tinka will be in the Chevrolet, just like they were at Talladega, just like they were back at Daytona. Some other notables in the field. Willie Mullins is back. Eric Caudell's back. Sean Corr will be entered in, but back in the number 8 car. Thomas Prater, Moose, is back. Good to see the Moose, Thomas Prater, back. He's down to just maybe one race a year now. It's kind of sad. I love seeing Thomas Prater back in the early 2010s Arca days when he was running Roush Fords. It was always cool to see him. He was never in the front of the field, but he was always having fun. And Thomas Prater was a good character in the garage. And I'm happy to see him back. He was definitely somebody that I don't think anyone could ever say anything bad about. Thomas Prater was one of the most genuine, nice human beings I've met in the garage. Some other notables in the field. Andy Hillenberg's lineup will feature 4 new drivers. Well, 4 technical new drivers. They have driven before, but to this year. Richard Garvey will return to the 10 car. John Garrett will make his debut in the 11. D.L. Wilson will once again be in the 12. Parker Chase will drive his 3rd consecutive race in the 15. Drew Dollar returns to the 18 because, remember, Sammy Smith is too young to drive Talladega. Corey Heim will be in the 20 because also Jesse Love's too young to drive. Brett Holmes will be driving one of his couple of races this season, while Connor Mosek runs in the Trans Am race this weekend. Tony Breidinger will be in the 25, of course, as a full-time entry. Tim Richmond is back. They are running the David Gilliland car. They got robbed of a top 5 finish at Daytona due to a fuel issue, and man, that still hurts. But I know they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. Tim learned a lot, and I'm so excited to see how they're going to run this weekend. I really hope that the other cars realize this is a good car, good engine, good team. Got to run with them. Don't leave a team like this out to dry. They have a really good piece showing up this weekend. Of course, Amber Balkin's in the 30. Max Gutierrez is in the 32. The 32 will be a part-time car this season. Not sure how many races Gutierrez will run. I do believe he is still running the whole East circuit again, but again, that is unclear as of now because we don't know. We're only a couple of races into the season, so you don't know what could happen. Greg Van Alst is driving again, this time in a Chevrolet. Ryan Huff is back for a part-time schedule again this season. Good to see him again. Of course, Daniel Dye in the 43. Thad Moffitt is driving again for Jeff McClure Racing, and we all love Thad Moffitt. We definitely got our opinions about him, but nonetheless, it's good to see the Ferrier-McClure team back. I'm actually not sure. Is this under the Ferrier-McClure? Looks like this is actually just under Jeff McClure's team. John Ferrier has kind of been in and out the last couple of years. But it looks like Jeff McClure is going full-time. I hope he is. I hope Jeff McClure's team is going to run as many races as possible this season because it'd be great to see. So, yeah, he's got Thad Moffitt. Of course, the man himself, Brad Smith. We are running the Chevrolet. So, cheer on that car. Gus Dean is back in the 55. Brian Dowsett, who drives for the FDNY Racing Truck Team. So, there's a guy to pull for. Brian Dowsett will be in his 57 car. Dave Mader, who pulled an Arca brakes at Daytona, he'll be back again in the 63 car for the Jeff Spraker Racing Team. Scott Melton back once again for the Kimmel Racing Team. No Will Kimmel, unfortunately, like we saw at Daytona. Wish we could see Will drive again. The pizza man himself, Andy Jankowiak, of course, he'll be there. Bryce Haugsberg, the team that took over the Dawson Cram team. Jason Kitzmiller in the 97. Tim Monroe in the 01. Braylon Laster running the second Mullins entry, which is listed under owner Alex Clubb because Alex, of course, owns the number 03. Zachary Tinkle, and then Brian Kaltrider, who supposedly Brian Kaltrider is actually running the whole season, and I hope he is. Be nice to see a guy like Brian who doesn't have a lot of funding, kind of like Brad Smith in a lot of ways, given it his best shot to go the whole season. Great field of cars. Now, out of the 34 entries we have, there's that topic. Well, how many can actually win and how many can even keep up in the draft? So I've kind of put my list out there. I would say out of the 34 entries we have, I would say about 26 to 27 can actually keep up in the lead draft. Only about a little over 20 will actually stay in the lead draft. Because a lot of these guys will get spread out as the race continues on. There's just the guys, who run the legacy motors, like Wayne, like Brad, like Brian Kaltrider. They just don't have the motor in them to be able to stay with the pack, and they just kind of run their own race and try to keep themselves out of trouble and, of course, collect the best finish that they can. So, yeah, we got 4 entries for Andy Hillenberg. Like I said, we got Tim Monroe, John Garrett, Richard Garvey, and D.L. Wilson. John Garrett's a newcomer. Go check out his Twitter on social media. Very nice car. I believe it's the Fort Worth, Texas Printing Company that has sponsored Xfinity driver Bailey Curry in the past. So definitely a cool-looking car. I would definitely support that team. Like I said, it's good to see a lot of the same cars here from Daytona. The one thing I am concerned about, and I know everyone wants the big one. It's the big one. It's the big attraction of these super speedways, the big crash. And I remember even saying this back in my Daytona preview and review. I don't really necessarily want a big crash in these types of races. I definitely think these races need the more cars they can get. Because when you take out a field of like, think about it. When we got 26 cars that can actually kind of compete here, okay? You know, well, you say we have a big wreck and it takes out 10 of those. Well, now you only got 16 really competitive cars, and then you got about 6 or 7 lackeys. You know, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a big wreck. I want to see a lot of this field be able to contend until the end of the race, like what we saw at Daytona. There were not that many DNFs at Daytona. I think only about 5 or 6, and some of them were related to the mechanical issues too. You know, I agree with people are saying in the chat. You know, will Venerini or Toyota in general be beat? Probably not. I mean, you know, they're just, when you got 4 cars out there, 4 evenly matched cars, 4 cars that could easily win, you know, it's hard to beat. Gibbs, you know, Drew Dollar, he's going to be really tough to beat. You know, these teams like Brett Holmes, who's very competitive, but he's only one man. You know, Dave Mader, he's one man. They have good cars. You're just one man versus 4 cars. And if Venerini does the same thing that they did back at Daytona, where they had the 15 pulled down and let the 20 go through, they're going to be really, really, really tough to beat. And I hope they don't pull that same stuff, but, you know, it's Venerini. They kind of run the series, and I love Big Bill, so I'm not going to get mad if he does. I love Big Bill Venerini too much. He's a cool guy. I can't get mad at him. But, yeah, definitely a very stacked field. Again, very happy to see. It's the biggest car count in over 5 years. No starting parks. That's the biggest gain out of all of this. As for the full-time entries, right now, the standings look like this heading into this race. Daniel Dye is leading the points. Raja Karuth is starting second. Parker Chase is third. But again, Parker is not a full-time driver. He is just running the first few races of the season, and then we'll run a sporadic schedule as the season goes on. Tony Breidinger is technically third. Then that would technically put Nick Sanchez as fourth. Corey Heim is listed in 6th. Taylor Gray is in 7th. Sammy Smith is in 8th. Amber Balkin is 9th. And D.L. Wilson is 10th. But, of course, guys, this is only the 3rd race of the main ARCA Series season. So it might take you guys a while to really see who's in this championship hunt, because a lot of these guys, we have to get about halfway into the season to see where we really have a championship battle. Right now, looking on the schedule for this weekend, I was kind of shocked to not see something called qualifying. There is practice that is scheduled to go on in a group format, but right now it is not listed as qualifying. Now, I've seen some people say that it is qualifying. It's just saying practice. So I don't know what to believe right now. I really do hope we have qualifying. Because I want to see maybe some newcomers start at the beginning of the field, because the way the rules would work, they would start by 2021 owner points, which would mean that Drew Dollar and Corey Heim would be the front row. And then right there, dude, it's going to be really tough to beat those Toyotas. Excuse me. So I really hope we do have qualifying. But either way, it's just going to be so hard to beat those Toyotas. You know they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And Venerini, they call the shots the way they like. Some people don't like team orders. I understand. You know, that's been a part of racing in every single racing division. You know, people are saying in the chat, I hope, like I said, it is qualifying. Give me just see who's in what groups. You know, sometimes We saw at Daytona, people who got in the wrong group, it really affected their qualifying run. Whereas people who got into the right group, somebody, you wouldn't expect to qualify very great. If you got in a good group, you were definitely going to be up there at the end. So, again, it's just kind of touch and go. It's going to be interesting to see who's in what group. Obviously, that's on Friday. It's at 3 p.m. And, I actually tweeted about this yesterday, and ironically enough, Venerini actually replied back to some of us what we were saying. Why is Arca there for 2 days? I really don't understand it. Now, I understand it does take a lot of time for these teams to prep, but for a series like Arca, if we're going to condense these shows, especially for a series that doesn't have a lot of funding in general to begin with, why are we making these teams stay 2 days? The Arca race is at, midday on Saturday? You can easily run a practice session at, 11, 10? Cool the cars back down, put them in the garage area for a couple hours, or just keep them on pit road with the car covers on. I don't see why we have to make this a 2-day show. So that is a little confusing, in my opinion, that these teams are making this a 2-day show. But, hey, I guess that's just how Arca does it. I mean, remember, guys, Arca used to run on Friday. Arca didn't run on Saturdays. I think the only reason why they're putting Arca on Saturdays now is because, now that NASCAR has gotten rid of practice and qualifying, for the Xfinity and Cup Series, they have to find something to be able to put on Saturday to, I guess, keep the fan interest up, which to me is a little sad because I remember as a kid, I used to love coming home from school on Fridays, watching the Arca race, and then, of course, watching Happy Hour, Cup qualifying. You guys know how it goes. You guys, who lived in my my era, the late 2000s, early 2010s, you guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so I don't know. I really don't understand that part of running 2 days. I do understand, for some teams, like for us last year, I'll give you guys a little quick story. Brad's car last year when we went to Talladega, it wasn't fully ready. And it took us the entire day to get the car ready and through tech. We were actually, I think, 30 pounds underweight. We were actually underweight. We had to borrow some ballast and lead from Andy Hillenberg. That was actually too much weight. We were actually, I think, 30 pounds. We ended up being 30 pounds or like 40 pounds overweight due to that ballast missing from Brad's car. It was so weird. I've never seen that before. And thankfully, everyone was very cool about it. But yeah, we were actually overweight. So that's a little fun fact for you guys. We were overweight in last year's Arca race. That's probably why we were so slow. Is because we were carrying too much, 40 pounds of extra weight. That's probably why we were so slow. Excuse me, guys. Chat, any word of Benny Chastain will return? Right now, I got nothing. Benny, like we saw, guys, he had that hard crash at the Pensacola track, which demolished one of Andy's cars. That car will not be used again, so that tells you how hard he hit. I got no updates on Benny. I know he's doing okay, but no updates on if Benny is going to be even allowed to run. Remember, Benny Chastain will be turning 80 years old this September, I believe. So you got to wonder, will Arca let him back on these super speedways? Who knows? But yeah, as for main entries in the field and race picks, definitely going to go with Toyota. With all due respect, I know Toyota is just going to be the big gun in the field. They're going to be the big kahunas to beat. I do think we'll see some surprises. Definitely expect Raja to be up there. With Sanchez, they really stepped it up on their super speedway program. Greg Van Alst, I would also say he has also stepped it up. In my opinion, if you want to beat these Toyotas, you have to outsmart them. And for other Chevy guys, team up. Core, Sanchez, Van Alst, and Carruth. That's 4 Chevys that are very competitive. Put in the 63 of Dave Mater. That's 6. Put those guys up against Toyotas. You can beat them. You just have to outsmart them. That's the problem, though. And that's right. The 43 and the 23 of Holmes and Dye. outsmart the Toyotas. That's what you got to do in this business. And unfortunately, that is easier said than done. My overall race pick for the race, I'm going to have to go with Corey Heim, man. He won Daytona. He's won Daytona the last couple of years. He won Talladega last year in that thrilling finish with Dave Mater. I don't want to pick Corey Heim, but I just think overall he's really mastered plate racing. He's got a good crew chief on the board, on the box, and Shannon Rush. So I think they're just going to be too hard to beat. My underdog pick would have to be Pizza Man, Andy Jankowiak, or Dave Mater, because we saw him nearly win last year, which, God, that would have been awesome to see. And you guys can catch this race, the schedule for this race. Keep in mind, the two ARCA races, they are not at the same time. The Kern County race will be at night, so you guys will not have to worry. For people who also have flow racing, you will not have to worry about having to switch back and forth between ARCA races. The Kern one is at night, and of course, this one is during the day. But yeah, ARCA teams will have to roll in on Friday. Friday, 3 p.m. is groups, and then it's just like I said, 3 p.m. is groups, and then they just don't do anything the rest of the day. It's like, when you look at this schedule, it really confuses me. And I understand it. I understand it from a couple of points of view, but, when you have the garage open up at 8, okay, you have your meetings, you have your rookie rides, you have your practice at 3. Why aren't we racing then 2 hours later at 5? Is it because we couldn't get a TV slot? Maybe, but it just doesn't make sense to me while, we're ending practice at 3 o'clock, or I guess 4 or 5 o'clock. And then we're just waiting until the next day. I don't know. I'm just trying to look out for these teams. You don't have a lot of money. Like Brad's guys, they can barely afford to stay a night at a hotel. I know these guys. It's a struggle, man. The struggle's real, especially with what's going on in the world. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be Saturday, 12:14 p.m. Central Time. Not sure if that's 11 or 1 Central Time for us here in Iowa, but definitely, guys, check it out. The one more thing I really want to make sure we see is a better broadcast. I was heavily critical on the TV broadcast of the Daytona race. I, with all due respect, I still think she has a long way to go. As a commentator, Jamie Little is definitely improving, but she definitely is not quite there yet. I think we can kind of agree on that. She is a good commentator, but she's just not there yet. I do think there's room for improvement. Phil Parsons, I think Phil's one of the best color commentators I've seen ever. Phil Parsons, if I'm ever commentating a damn race, Phil is who I want with me. But I do hope we do get a better broadcast, because my points was like 6 laps commercial, in-car camera galore. It's like we couldn't see the race going on. That was my biggest gripe. So I don't want to get too much in a rant about that, but you guys hear me out on that. I think you guys can agree the same way. We want a better broadcast. We got 34 cars. We got a great field. We have the opportunity for one of the best Arca Talladega races that we had for a long, long time. You guys remember last year's race, we only had 29 cars, and it was a great race. Last year's Arca race was a really, really good race with a great finish. I hope we get the exact same thing. Sarah, who's going to be the points leader after this race? I would definitely say that Daniel's going to keep the points lead, and I'm still going to say it, what I said this year. I think Dye is definitely going to win this championship. I think one of his biggest contenders, Sanchez has just struggled too much. I think he's just too far behind. When you look at the main series points, Daniel Dye's got 84 points, whereas Sanchez, he's only got 61. And you could definitely say that this is the last big field of the season. We're not going to have 34 cars at every race. We'll be lucky to probably have around 26 to 25 at most races. So closing in that 23-plus point gap for Sanchez is going to be very difficult to do. So my championship pick is easily pulling off to a huge lead right now. And I don't know what your guys' championship picks are. You guys can leave them in the comment section or comment them on Twitter. But either way, this Arca championship battle is definitely not over, but it's starting to pull away pretty quickly. So yeah, wow, 40 minutes in. We're usually these previews take a little longer, but anyway, guys, again, we are at 217 subscribers. I almost forgot to bring this up. I can't believe I forgot to bring this up. We are having our 250 sub giveaway soon. We are at 217 subs. Remember, guys, when we get to 250, we will be having our first giveaway. 3 personal 164 scale mint on card. I have not opened them. 3 164th mint on scale die casts. I will show them the closer we get. I will show them on camera, and one of you lucky subs will win them. So remember, guys, subscribe and like. When we get there, I cannot wait to give them away to a lucky subscriber. So just remember that, guys. And of course, check out Arca Racing this Saturday. Arca's back in full force. I thank you guys so much for, again, with the support of the Arca Racing podcast. To see where we've grown from last year to this year, it just means so much to me. Keep supporting Arca. Support the big teams. Support the lower teams. If there's an Arca person on social media, give them a follow. Let's get this series back where it needs to be, or at least try our best. So, again, guys, I appreciate you guys joining in with me for the Arca Racing podcast preview show. We will be back next week for a long review show of these 2 races, because I guarantee you we're in for 2 either crap shows or barn burners. Let's go with that. That's what we're gonna have next this week. We're either gonna have 2 barn burners or 2 crap shows. And heck, I'm an Arca fan. I'm looking forward to it. So again, thank you guys. You have a good rest of your Wednesday night. I am considering doing a backmarker battles tomorrow. So if you guys want to join in with that with me, you can. Either way, you guys take care, and we'll see y'all real soon. So long, guys.